There are moments when a place meant for peace slowly turns into the center of conflict, so intense that it leaves everyone questioning what really happened. This is one of those moments. It began quietly, almost too quietly to matter. Just a trace of white powder on the floor of a pastor's office. Something small, something easily overlooked. But within days, that single detail would grow into suspicion, then accusation, and eventually something far more serious. At the center of it all were Reverend Anthony Akasa and his wife, Evangelist Grace Akasa. On a Sunday morning in April 2026, members gathered for worship like they always did. Nothing felt unusual at first. The atmosphere was calm, familiar, predictable. But before the service could end, everything would change. What unfolded that day would leave members shaken, raise difficult questions, and draw attention far beyond the church walls. Because somehow, a situation that started with uncertainty would end in confrontation, inside a place where people come seeking peace. To understand how things reached that point, we need to go back to where it all began. Back to the moment that raised the first question, the discovery of that white powder. Reverend Anthony Akasa served as the resident pastor of an Assemblies of God church in Ughelli, Delta State. Those who knew him saw a man dedicated to his role, committed to guiding his congregation. Beside him was his wife, Evangelist Grace Akasa, equally involved in the spiritual life of the church. Together, they represented leadership and structure within the ministry. But like many close communities, not everything is always visible on the surface. The issue began when a white powdery substance was discovered inside the pastor's office. At first, it seemed like something that could easily be explained, but no immediate explanation came. And in that silence, assumptions began to form. Whispers moved quietly among members. Then those whispers started to take shape. Some began to attach meaning to what they had seen. Before long, the narrative shifted. It was no longer just a substance, it became something suspicious. Then, something spiritual, and eventually, something darker. Certain individuals within the church began suggesting that the powder was linked to witchcraft, and as the suspicion grew, attention turned toward one person, Evangelist Grace Akasa. For her, the accusation was not just surprising, it was deeply troubling. Because in a community like this, such claims do more than raise questions. They damage identity, they affect trust, and they can change everything. As the accusations intensified, Evangelist Grace Akasa found herself under growing pressure. According to her, this was not a misunderstanding. She believed it was deliberate, a calculated attempt to damage her reputation and that of her husband. Faced with that weight, she responded in a way that reflected both her emotions and her faith. She went to the altar. Standing there, she began to pray. But this was not a quiet, reflective prayer. It carried urgency, it carried frustration, and above all, it carried a desire to clear her name. She spoke out strongly, calling for consequences upon anyone who had entered her husband's office and placed that substance there. To her, this was about truth, about justice, about exposing what she believed was a setup. Then, in the middle of that moment, something unexpected happened. A church cleaner who had been nearby stepped forward. She had been listening, and what she revealed would change everything. The cleaner explained that the powder had nothing to do with witchcraft. She said she had found it earlier in the choir stand, likely forgotten by one of the choristers. Thinking it might be important, she moved it into the pastor's office for safekeeping. But that wasn't all. She also explained what happened. According to the cleaner, while she was walking, she had her toddler with her inside the church. At some point, the child got hold of the powder. Like many children would, the toddler began to play with it, spreading it across the office floor and surrounding areas. The cleaner admitted she tried to clean it afterward, but it wasn't thorough. Some of the powder remained. What had looked suspicious was actually accidental. A simple chain of events, nothing more. Once Evangelist Grace Akasa heard this explanation, she acted immediately. She informed her husband, and together they presented the cleaner's account to the church elders. From their point of view, this should have settled the matter. There was now a clear explanation, no mystery, no hidden meaning, just an unfortunate situation that had been misunderstood. But despite this clarification, the tension did not go away. The elders were not convinced. For reasons that were not entirely clear, they chose not to accept the explanation as sufficient. Instead, they took the matter further. They escalated it beyond the local church. A formal petition was sent to the Assemblies of God headquarters in Owerri, Imo State. And with that step, the situation entered a new phase, one that would bring even greater consequences. In the petition, the pastor and his wife were accused of actions that went against church doctrine and spiritual principles. This was no longer a local disagreement. It had become an official matter. When the headquarters received the report, they responded by notifying Reverend Akasa that a delegation would visit the church on April 12, 2026. The purpose was clear: to investigate the claims and hear directly from those involved. For the pastor and his wife, this was an opportunity, a chance to present the truth, a chance to clear their names formally. They waited for that day, expecting a structured and peaceful process. But what happened instead was something entirely different. On that Sunday, as the service was ongoing, a group of individuals wearing Royal Rangers uniforms entered the church. At first, their presence may not have seemed unusual, but within moments, the situation changed. What followed was not a discussion, it was not an inquiry, it was confrontation. And then, it became physical. Following the incident, the Assemblies of God leadership released a statement. They described the situation as an internal matter and confirmed that investigations were ongoing. They emphasized the need for calm and urged the public to avoid drawing conclusions too quickly. According to them, the process would be handled with care, wisdom, and discretion. They also assured that the pastor and his family were receiving proper support. But beyond the official response, many questions remain unanswered. Why was the cleaner's explanation not enough to resolve the issue earlier? Was there more beneath the surface, perhaps tension that existed long before the powder incident? Some believe there may have been deeper disagreement or internal conflicts. Others see it as a breakdown in communication that escalated too far. At this stage, those possibilities remain unconfirmed. What is clear, however, is that a situation that could have been resolved early was allowed to grow, and in that growth, it became something much more serious. This story is not just about one incident. It is about how quickly assumptions can take hold and how difficult they can be to reverse. A simple misunderstanding turned into suspicion. Suspicion turned into accusation. And accusation eventually turned into confrontation. For Evangelist Grace Akasa, her reaction reflected a deep need to defend her integrity. For the church elders, their actions suggested concern, but also a level of mistrust that could not be easily resolved. Somewhere in between lies the truth that investigators are still working to uncover. But beyond the details, there is a broader lesson. When situations are not fully understood, and when communication breaks down, even small issues can grow into serious conflict. And sometimes, the consequences go further than anyone expects. So it leaves one final question. If you had been there from the beginning, would you have paused to ask questions, or would you have believed what you first heard? Because sometimes, the difference between truth and tragedy is simply the willingness to verify before reacting. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop them in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, please like and share the video. And if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next true crime story.
Go ahead. They sprayed pastor. They sprayed tear gas for pastor head for his AFC. For Assemblies of God church. At the Royal Regis one. They said that they KFC. They sprayed for pastor wife hair. And my daddy had a pain now. Daddy had a pain now. The daddy had a pain now. My brother, they beat my brother with no good. Say because we didn't see them, someone come up for the church. Alright, see her. Spray, beat my mama, push her for ground. See my father. Spray tear gas for eye when they pain now. Oh God.
Good for you. Let me walk with this. Now it's good for you, my own door blind. Your daddy door blind. Now it's good for you. Make them please.
They will rip her. Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry.